Have you ever wondered why your heart had to shatter before peace arrived? Why everything you loved slipped through your fingers before something better came along? That pain, you felt it, wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. When Allah breaks you, it's never to destroy you. It's to rebuild you stronger, purer and closer to Him. Sometimes the blessing you're praying for can only fit in a heart that's been emptied first. And that's exactly why Allah allowed it to break. Brokenness is the beginning of sincerity. Sometimes Allah allows the heart to shatter not to punish you, but to peel away the layers of pride, ego, and distraction that covered it. When everything falls apart and you're left with nothing but tears, that's when the soul becomes soft. In those moments of brokenness, sincerity awakens. You're no longer trying to impress people. You're no longer running from pain. You're just turning to your Rabb with nothing but your raw, honest heart. We often don't realize how much our du'as are filtered by our desires until life breaks us. Then suddenly the du'a is no longer about dunya status or image. It's just, Ya Allah, help me. That simplicity, that desperation is sincerity. True ikhlas is born not in moments of comfort, but in the furnace of hardship. That's where your faith becomes real. That's where your voice trembles not for show, but because the pain is real. And so is your plea. Brokenness removes the illusions. You stop pretending. You stop acting like you're in control. You stop reciting empty words. You start speaking from the soul. That's why some of the most powerful worship comes from the most shattered hearts. When Allah breaks you, it's often because He wants to hear your real voice, the one that calls Him. Not because you're taught to, but because you need Him. A broken heart doesn't mean you're weak in faith. It means your faith is being refined. Allah doesn't leave those He loves in ease all the time because comfort makes us forget. But pain reminds. It realigns, it strips away everything fake and forces us to turn inward. And that's where sincerity begins, when you meet your true self and you realize how deeply you depend on your Creator. When life humbles you, you pray differently. Your sujood becomes longer. Your eyes begin to weep. Your heart begins to tremble, not out of habit, but out of haqq, truth. That's what Allah wants. He doesn't want your perfection. He wants your truth. He wants you as you are broken, messy, unsure, but sincere. Because sincerity is what reaches His throne, not polished appearances. Some people found Allah only after everything else was taken from them. The relationship failed, the job disappeared, the friends vanished. And in that emptiness, they discovered the one who never leaves. That's why brokenness is a mercy in disguise. It clears away what distracts, so you can finally see what matters. In your lowest place, you discover your highest calling. Surrender. We ask Allah to soften our hearts. And sometimes He does it through the breaking. The same way a seed must crack before it grows, the heart must sometimes break before sincerity can bloom. Don't curse the season of breaking. That was the moment your soul became real. That was the place where your dua rose straight to the heavens, unguarded, unfiltered, and truly yours. There's a level of worship that can only be reached through pain, not because pain is holy, but because pain makes you present. It silences the noise, it silences the ego, it silences the world. In that silence you whisper His nama not out of habit, but because it's all you have. That's sincerity. And that's why Allah sometimes allows the heart to break. It's the start of real connection. Allah does not want a rehearsed version of you. He doesn't want your dua to sound like a speech. He wants your heart, even when it's trembling, especially when it's trembling. He wants you to cry, not because it's dramatic, but because you finally realize no one else can heal this pain. That realization is sincerity, and that's the beginning of transformation. We fear brokenness, but in the eyes of Allah, brokenness is a bridge. It's what takes you from heedlessness to presence, from arrogance to humility, from depending on people to leaning fully on your Lord. You may walk into the hardship confused, but you walk out of it closer to Allah. That's the power of brokenness. It breaks the false attachments so your soul can attach to Him. Don't rush to fix what Allah is still breaking. Let the cracks reveal what's hidden. Let the pain purify what pride tried to cover. Some of the most sincere people are those who've been shattered because in their pieces they found their prayers, they found silence, they found a closeness to Allah that comfort never gave them. And they wouldn't trade that sincerity for anything. If you've been broken lately, know this. It's not the end, it's a beginning, a sacred one, where masks fall and truth rises. Where the words, Ya Allah, come not from your tongue but from the very depths of your being. This is sincerity. This is what Allah loves. And this is where the most beautiful du'as are born inside, broken hearts that still believe. Hardship reveals your true dependency on Allah. Hardship has a way of uncovering truths we never knew were buried within us. When life flows easily, we often forget how desperately we need Allah. But when the ground beneath our feet begins to shake, our illusions of control crumble. The comfort we thought we created turns out to be a gift we never owned. In that raw moment of confusion and pain, we learn we are not self-sufficient, we never were. It's in those late night cries, when no one answers your call, that you finally raise your hands in true desperation. Not out of routine, not out of culture, but because there's nowhere else to turn. That is when Allah hears you the loudest, when your voice is not dressed in pride, but soaked in surrender. That's the kind of dua that breaks through the skies. When everything you leaned on falls, Allah is showing you that nothing sustains you but Him. People may disappear, plans may fail, wealth may vanish, but His mercy doesn't. And when you're left with nothing but faith, you realize that's all you ever really needed. That is the depth of dependency hardship forces you to remember. Sometimes you only find how strong your need for Allah is when you're drowning in weakness. The limbs fail, the mind falters, the heart aches, and yet something in you still turns upward. That turn against all odds, against all feelings, is where Iman lives. And hardship is what brings you there. You may not recognize it in the moment, but trials are Allah's mercy cloaked in difficulty. They strip away the distractions that dilute your prayers. They erase the false securities you built around yourself. And what's left is something beautiful, a soul that is fully aware of its need for its Creator. That awareness is the first step toward true submission. In hardship, we stop saying, I've got this, and start whispering, Ya Allah, I can't do this without you. That shift isn't a defeat, it's a spiritual victory. The more you lean on Him, the stronger you actually become. Because the strength that comes from tawakkul is far greater than the illusion of self-reliance. Sometimes Allah puts you in a situation where even the people who love you the most cannot help you. Not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants you to see that His help is near. And when His help comes, it often comes in ways no human could offer. It comes with wisdom, with peace, with healing you didn't even ask for. The dunya teaches you to be independent, but Allah teaches you to be dependent in the best way. Not weak or passive, but fully aware of your limits and His unlimited power. The test is not just surviving the hardship, it's realizing who carried you through it when you couldn't carry yourself. Each time you've been broken down and still found the strength to make sajda, know that it wasn't your strength. It was Allah giving you enough light to crawl back to Him. That crawling, that seeking is beloved to Him. The struggle is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you've remembered where your soul truly belongs. If you've ever felt like your heart was too heavy to keep going and yet you still whispered, Alhamdulillah, you've tasted the sweetness of dependence. That kind of praise birthed in pain is purer than 1,000 praises born in ease. Allah loves that sincerity. He draws near to the broken-hearted who call on Him. Through hardship, Allah reminds you that no one loves you like He does. Because no one else sees every fear, hears every silent dua, or knows every scaran still remains. Every moment of despair is an invitation to connect deeper, not to run away, but to run to Him with everything you have left. So when life shatters your sense of control, remember, you were never meant to carry it all. You were meant to submit, to rely, to let go. And when you do, you'll find something extraordinary. Allah never left your side. He just wanted you to see that He was the only one holding you all along. Pain cleanses what was never meant for you. Pain often feels like a punishment, but in Allah's design, it's a purification. He removes what weighs down your soul, even if your heart is still attached. The loss you faced wasn't to harm you, it was to cleanse you from what was never meant to last. Sometimes the thing you cling to most tightly is the very thing that blocks your growth. So Allah, in His mercy, takes it away not to leave you empty, but to make room for something better. We beg Allah to bring us peace, but forget that peace sometimes begins with pruning. The way a gardener cuts back branches to help the tree grow stronger, Allah trims what no longer serves you. You may cry over what's been cut, but what remains is healthier, purer, and closer to the fitrah He intended for you. Pain becomes the blade, but it's wielded by the most merciful. Sometimes the people we lose were sent only for a season, not for a lifetime. When they leave, it feels like your soul has been ripped apart, but in truth, Allah is redirecting your heart. You didn't fail. You just outgrew something your soul no longer needed. The ache you feel is growth happening in real time, even if it hurts to see it. We often mistake comfort for goodness and pain for harm. But Allah reverses that lens. What is painful may be purifying you. What is easy may be deceiving you. So when He removes what you thought was good, it's not because He wants you to suffer, it's because He sees what your heart cannot. And He loves you too much to let you stay bound to something that stunts your soul. Heartbreak humbles you. It makes you fall into sujood, not out of routine, but out of true desperation. That's the kind of connection Allah desires, a heart emptied of false attachments, ready to be filled with light. What you thought was a breaking was really a cleansing, washing away the layers that kept you distant from your Lord. Sometimes we keep begging Allah to bless something He's trying to remove. We can't see the harm in it, but He can. He sees the arrogance it feeds, the sins it nurtures, the distractions it causes. So He removes it, not to cause pain, but to preserve your future. What feels like deprivation is often divine protection. Pain teaches you what comfort never could. It wakes you up. It forces you to reflect. It shows you where you placed your trust and whether that trust was misplaced. Every tear that falls carries away something you were never meant to hold on to. And when the tears dry, what remains is something lighter, softer, and more sincere. We are quick to attach ourselves to people, plans, and outcomes, but slow to let go when they're no longer serving us. Allah knows how tightly you hold on, and He also knows what you're capable of becoming if you release it. So He sends pain, not as punishment, but as a gentle push toward the path He wrote for you. If you've ever lost something you thought you couldn't live without, and yet you're still breathing, that's a sign your soul was never dependent on that thing. It was always dependent on Allah. He removed it to remind you that your strength never came from the creation, but from the Creator. Pain breaks the illusion of permanence in this dunya. It teaches you that everything here is temporary except your relationship with Allah. The love that left, the job that ended, the dream that collapsed, all of it pointed to one